Okay, I'm going to show you this a little closer up in a minute. I know it's a little small on the screen perhaps at the moment, but I'm going to show you it all closer up, and I'll show you it turned on in the menus and all that. But this is the R-Watch R11S, and you may have heard of the R11. It's quite a popular model. This is a new improved model, the R11S. It's a smartwatch, as I'm sure you've already figured out. It costs about £46 in UK, $45.99, and if it's available in the US, which I think it is, I'll put a text overlay on this video with the price in US dollars as well. This model, compared with the original R11, has a softer leather strap. The other one, I believe, had a leather strap. This is a softer leather strap, and they say it has a more elegant dial with crystals, and it does have little crystals around the display. I'll show you that a little closer up. It does use a Bluetooth and has a SIM card slot, so you can use a nano SIM card in it to make calls, so you don't even have to bring your phone with you at all. You've got it built into the watch, so it's like a little phone as well. It has a heart rate sensor, which is quite good. It's quite good that this has a heart rate sensor, because some of the other watches in this price range don't. In fact, I've seen more expensive watches, even some that cost like £70, which don't have a heart rate sensor. This does. This has a heart rate sensor. It has a pedometer, and its pedometer perhaps isn't as good as some of the more expensive ones. But unlike some of the others in this price range or cheaper, you can actually put in your weight to get a more accurate reading. So it will calculate how many calories you burnt off a lot more accurately if you put in your weight. Whereas I've seen other watches at this price range where you just start your pedometer, there's no option to height or weight. Now, some of the more expensive ones, you can put in your height as well. This only allows weight, but that's definitely a step above a lot at this price range. As I mentioned, it supports a 2G, not 3G or 4G, but a 2G SIM card. It has a 220 mAh battery. That's okay, but I have seen much better. Quite a lot of the watches I've reviewed have a 300, 320 or 350 battery. This is 220, so bear that in mind. Its processor is a MTK 2501, 300 MHz. That is a lot of these smartwatches. In fact, I believe I'm right in saying all of the smartwatches I've reviewed so far have used an MTK processor. It's by a certain company, I think it's called MediaTek. And this is the 2501 model, and it's 300 MHz. Its screen is 1.22 inches, and that seems pretty standard. There's two main sizes a lot of these are in. They're either 1.22 or 1.54, mostly anyway. They do vary a little bit there, but this is a 1.22, and it is an IPS screen. So you should be able to tilt your arm, and it shouldn't whiten over like a old ATM machine, which is really good, because I can't remember what the model was. The first watch I reviewed, I think it was called DZ09 or something like that. That one didn't have IPS, and the screen did actually blur over with kind of white tinge if you move your arm even the slightest bit. This is a nice IPS screen with a resolution of 240 by 204, fairly standard. Most are about 240 by 240. This is 240 by 204. That's probably to do with the fact that it's round and a lot aren't round. That will probably vary the pixels slightly there. It is a stainless steel shell, and it has IP65 waterproofing. Now, in case you don't know, there is a international rating for waterproofness of devices such as smartphones and smartwatches, and most are either IP65, IP67, or the very highest is IP68. Now, IP68 you can actually swim in. You can swim in a swimming pool with it up to 2 meters for up to about 20 or 30 minutes. This one you cannot swim in. Now, I need to make sure you are aware of that. Don't swim with this. It's IP65, but that does mean you should be able to shower with it on. Any of the IP ratings lower than 65, you can't shower in. 65 or higher, you can shower in, but 68 you can actually swim in. So that is pretty good, because even if you don't want to shower in it, you know with an IP65 rating, you don't have to worry about getting caught out in a lot of rain outside. You'll be fine. So that is a good, really strong selling point to this watch. Unlike many at this price range, it is IP65. Now the 6 in 65 isn't to do with waterproofness, it's to do with how dust resistant it is, and 6 is the highest of the dust proof rating part of the number, 65, so it should be completely dust tight, which is good. Its dimensions are 40 by 50 by 10.4 millimeters. In the box you get the watch, of course. It doesn't come with a stand, that's something I've put on so you can see it a little better. There's a box next to it. I'm not going to show you the entire box. It's not a lot to say, but it's a decent enough box, especially for the price range. Inside you get the watch, of course, you get a basic little leaflet, a bit basic kind of manual, and you get a charging cable because it does use a small mini USB cable. It doesn't charge magnetically like some of the more expensive watches where you snap the cable onto the back or the side or whatever. You do plug in a actual USB, small USB cable, and it does come included in the box, but you need to know, I should really point something out. I should really point something out here though. The only place really, there are only a couple places I can see where water might get in is where the SIM card goes in possibly, and where the little USB is to charge it. Now the USB has a it's very tightly on, a very tight rubber sort of flap. You peel that back and plug in the cable. Now make sure after you've charged, each time you've charged, you press that rubber little flap back on and back in nice and tight to make sure water can't get in. Same with a SIM card, make sure that is closed or closed up nice and tight. Okay, you hold in the dial on the right for a few seconds to turn it on. The same to turn it off, you hold it in for a few seconds to boot it down. Here's one of the clock faces. This is the analog one. There is also a digital one to select, but that is it. You just have the two. You're stuck with just the two clock faces. The screen will turn off every so often as you just saw to save battery. Here is some of the options here. Hopefully you can see, it's hard to tell from behind the camera, but you have here things like Bluetooth in the middle, you have things like a stopwatch. You have various things here like Bluetooth to turn that on. You have your dialer up here to make a phone call. You have your phone book there, your contacts. You have things with Bluetooth music from your phone, a thing to download the app, and it is available on iPhone and Android. And then if we scroll across, you have things like your pedometer, your compass. It actually does have a compass, unlike some. Calendar. Settings, which is where you can change the backlighting, so you can have it go off after like 5, 10, 30 seconds or up to 50 seconds. I've just changed it to 50 seconds so it don't go off too quickly. You then have anti-loss, so if you have this paired to your phone, you can find your phone. If you can't find it, it'll ring your phone. Pedometer here, you can set your step settings, your weight settings, clear the history, get to the actual pedometer itself. Now from the one down the bottom there, hopefully you can see okay, you can select your clock type, analog or digital. That is only two types. Now I've hit digital, we can see what it looks like. Let's go back. There you go, there's your digital, and from the digital one you actually get your SMS, messaging, or the dialer from there as well. There is things like I say, like a compass, your settings, which is where you can change all sorts. Then you go here, there's your heart rate. You hit start when you want to check your heart rate. Then you leave it going for a bit, because the first number that comes up, it will always be a bit low. You need to leave it on for a few seconds, I'd say about 10 seconds or so, to make sure you get an accurate reading. Then you can hit stop on it. Then you have things like a sedentary reminder to remind you to get up every so often, make sure you aren't sitting down too much to keep you moving. In the middle there you can select your language. There are a few different languages, not just English. You have things like an alarm clock, all sorts of things, bits and bobs here. You can also get to backlighting from one of the icons as well. It does support things like remote camera and push notifications, but some of those features are only available on Android, not iOS. That's a pity. I'll go into that a little bit more in a minute. There's a calculator and things like that as well, SMS messaging. That's pretty much it, I think. So it's actually a really, really good smartwatch at the price, because there are some more expensive watches that actually don't have quite all the features of this. For instance, I have seen some that cost a lot more than this that actually don't have a heart rate sensor. This has a heart rate sensor, a pedometer that lets you change the step settings to sort of for pacing, and also enter your weight. Some other watches at this price range may have a pedometer, but they don't really let you change any options. This lets you, at least if nothing else, put in your weight, which is really good. It also has IP65 waterproofing, which is really good at this price range, with a heart sensor and all the rest of the stuff. So it packs in quite a punch for the price. Well, surely there's downsides. Well, the downside for me, and this might not be the case for you, you might feel differently, but for me, it's the software sort of side, the operating system, the app for pairing and syncing. It could be a lot worse, to be honest, but I've noticed that there are lots of watches at the $100, £100 price range and under that use this system, or at least a syncing and pairing app called Fundowear. And that is really, really good. You create an account, which you do with the app on this, I should say, but not only can you sync your pedometer and heart rate stats, you can often, it might depend upon your device, but you can often add another, say, 4 or 5 clock faces to your watch through that app. And you can add Yahoo Weather, maybe depend upon your device, but at least the ones I've used you can. And you can also update the firmware on this watch by going to the About box and then firmware update, and it will check if there's any new software for the system, the operating system on the watch itself, which is really, really good. It's a really good all-round app, and it also supports all the features on Android and iOS, such as push notifications and remote camera. Now, this does not support most of the features on iOS. It mostly only supports things like push notifications and remote camera, etc. on Android, which is not a big problem with this one. Lots and lots and lots of these watches at this sort of price range are like that. In fact, even some more expensive ones only support most of the features on Android, and then they don't have much in the way of abilities to sort of synchronize and pair on iOS, such as remote camera. Most won't support that, or they won't support the notifications, or both, which is a problem with this one. So if they had used Fundowear as their system and their pairing app, like some others I've reviewed do, then that would not be an issue for iPhone users. Now, if you're an Android user, that's not really going to apply to you, although I still prefer the app, even on Android anyway, but still, that isn't going to be quite a knock for you, because you've got to have all those sort of features like push notifications. But if you're an iPhone user, you might want to consider other watches, which is a real pity, because so far this is the best one in the £40 price range, and like about £45 price range. The other ones that are better than this have been more expensive, like £60 at least, or even 70 or 80. This has waterproofing, IP65 waterproofing, stainless steel shell, leather buckle, heart rate sensor. The hardware side of this watch for the price is absolutely unbelievable, but it is unfortunately let down by their poor choice of operating system and syncing and pairing app for the phones. Because it's not just the app as well, it's the operating system on this. It's okay, it's usable, but I don't like it as much as the operating system that the watches that use the Fundowear app uses on on their watches. So the hardware portion of this watch is unbelievable for price range, but it's let down by the software and app side of things, which is a real pity. If they had just used Fundowear, this would be an absolutely amazing watch in the £40 to £50 price range. Absolutely amazing. Had they gone the Fundowear app route, this would have I'm almost 100% sure I'd say this is the best watch in the £40 to £50 price range. Now, in fairness, I will say I haven't seen any watches use Fundowear cost 40 to 50. They've all been at least at least £56. Most of them are £60 or more. So It's not like lots of watches at this price range use that, but this doesn't. It's not like that. But still, if they had just been able to use that, this watch would absolutely blow away all the other watches in this price range. So it really depends upon if you're an Android user or not. If you are, this isn't going to be as big a deal, the point I'm making. If you're an iPhone user, it will be a much bigger deal to you. So if you're an Android user, I would definitely, if you want to pay under £50, then definitely look at this watch. But if you're an iPhone user, maybe look at other ones, even though they might be more expensive, like say the Z Blaze Cosmos. That's about £56 to £60, but that has IP65 waterproofing and it uses Funduwear. So yeah, if you want a watch under £50 and you are an Android user, definitely look at this one. If you're an iPhone user or you're willing to pay a little bit more, there are other alternatives. Which I wouldn't be saying that if this had used Funduwear and a better system, because the hardware at this price range is really, really amazing. Also, one last thing I would like to point out is most have a crown button and then a touch screen. This does have a little bar down the bottom which has a home button, so instead of having to use this, you can quickly press down low on the screen to go back. It can be quite handy, but then again, I think I would have preferred the whole screen to be a whole round screen without a bezel down the bottom. So I'd like to point that out, that there is a bezel down here on the lower portion of the screen, but it's not a wasted bezel like on some other round watches that have a bezel, because it does act as a button, whereas I have seen other round watches with a bezel down here that serve no purpose, it just gets in the way of the screen. This, you have the screen, then a little bezel with a button down there as well. Thanks for watching. Please like and comment on this video, and if you could do me a huge favour and subscribe to my YouTube channel, as it just takes a few seconds and will help me out a lot. Also, if you're watching this as a review on Amazon, please hit the useful or helpful button. That will help me out a lot too. Thanks for watching.